I32F posted on Facebook about Santa Claus not being real. My niece, 13F, is a Facebook friend and is now devastated. Sister, 36F, is furious with me. I can't believe I even need to post this, but here we go. I posted the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool meme where he tells kids how Santa isn't real. My niece, who just turned 13, has a Facebook account that is about a week old. I honestly forgot I even has her as a friend. My sister called me furious. Apparently, she had to come clean to both my nieces, the other one is 11, and now they are so upset they couldn't go to school today. I told her I thought she had told them years so about Santa not being real, but I still felt bad and apologized. She says that isn't good enough and that I need to publicly say how Santa is real and provide proof to my nieces how I believe Santa is real. I refuse. I think they are far too old to be believing in Santa still. My mother and father sided with my sister, saying I shouldn't ruin my niece's Christmas and take away their childhood prematurely. I feel like I'm in crazy town. I just sent an email saying I am sorry the incident happened and that my nieces are hurting, but that I am not going to pretend Santa exists because I feel that is an unreasonable request. My parents have said they are disappointed with me, and my sister said until I agree to lie about Santa that she is going no contact. Am I wrong that 13 and 11 is a fine age to stop believing in Santa? I get that they are all upset, but isn't this an inevitable part of growing up? Usually my family is reasonable, so I'm a bit shocked about this all honestly. My sister and her family aren't even Christian. Yes, I know Santa isn't a Christian thing, but Christmas is a Christian holiday. We never really made a big deal of Christmas beyond eating good food and opening a few gifts. TL/DR posted a meme about how Santa isn't real. My 13-year-old niece saw it and told my 11-year-old niece. They are devastated. My sister and parents are angry at me and want me to lie about Santa being real. I don't think it is healthy to do so at their ages. My sister now won't talk to me, and my parents think I am being unreasonable. What can I do? Tiny smooth things over. Relevant comments. Commenter. Your sister is having difficulty with her daughters growing up. If the kids really still believed in Santa, then she has been keeping them ignorant/innocent to a degree that borders on abusive. Do the girls know the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy aren't real either? Your parents are enabling your sister's weirdness. I guess you could post that, yes, Virginia, there's a Santa Claus letter, but I surely wouldn't do anything more than that. Your sister should be more worried about the 13-year-old finding a baby in the Cabbage Patch than leaving milk and cookies for a man in a red suit. OP. The weird thing is my sister is a very sex-positive parent. My nieces know all about sex, birth control, and stuff like that. So, sex is okay when they are ready for it, but Santa Claus not being real is a horrible thing? Edit. So my niece sent me a text from school asking why her mom was mad at me. I said it was over the whole Santa thing, and she said, that's stupid. Who still believes in Santa? So, yeah, I called my sister out on this whole BS situation and for making up lies to try and make me feel bad. She called my parents crying. So my parents told me their standard line of having me be the bigger person and patch things up. Not this time. I told them to quit sticking their noses into an argument that has nothing to do with them, but honestly I am so pissed they can all fudge off for a while. I'm not responding to anyone unless I get an apology. Edit number 2. Crazy Town. Sister. I can't believe you responded to Neice after I told you not to talk to her. It's disrespectful to me. Me? You mean you were just upset you got caught in a lie? Sister. It wasn't a lie. It was a justified exaggeration to prove a point. Me? What fudging point? Sister. That your words and actions on Facebook have consequences. Me? Let me get this straight. You won't let me talk to nieces because I posted a meme about Santa not existing even though they don't believe in Santa anymore? Sister. What if they were younger? Me? They aren't? What the fudge kind of logic is that? Sister. I can't talk to you when you're being unreasonable and refuse to see the point. Me? Okay. Good luck with that. When you are ready to apologize, you can send me message. Sister. What the fudge do I have to apologize for? I don't even know why you're upset when I'm the only one with the right to be upset here. Me? Figure it out. Edit number 3. You know, this isn't normal behavior for my sister. I reached out to my BIL, and he says he's been concerned the past few days. It's been like a switch was flipped, and she started acting nuts. He's going to make her an appointment with their doctor. It might just be stress, but never hurts to check it out. Update 1. To summarize the last post, I posted a Ryan Reynolds meme about Santa Claus not being real on Facebook, which my 13-year-old niece saw. My sister flipped out about it and wanted me to publicly rescind and say how Santa is real, but I thought my nieces were too old to believe in that stuff and refused. It led to a crazy fight between us. Link to the original. Anyway, I talked to my nieces and neither of them believe in Santa, so they were baffled about the fight. I talked to my BIL, and he said my sister has been flying off the handle lately. We agreed she should probably get a checkup, and he convinced her to go to the doctor. On to the update. They did MRI, and nothing showed up. Then they did some blood work which looked fine, except some elevated cholesterol. She isn't pregnant. They pretty much wrote her off as a crazy person and sent her to a psychologist for stress. After a session, the psychologist told her to do some deep breathing and sent her away as fixed. She got worse. She stopped sleeping and barely ate, yet still gained weight. Any small annoyance would send her into a rage. Commercials were making her so upset she would ugly cry. I asked my BIL if they tested hormone levels or anything like that, and he said the doctors didn't feel it was necessary. She called me one day crying and apologizing, saying she was the worst sister ever and I had every right to hate her. She was so devastated she ruined our relationship and such. It was weird and not my sister. So when I got a chance to speak, I told her she was going to go see my doctor, and I wasn't taking no for an answer. I set up an appointment and my doctor ordered a full blood panel, including hormone and vitamins, before my sister drove to town for her appointment. When my sister drove up, we spent the morning shopping, and she was unpredictable. One minute she was happy and the next yelling about some perceived sight. That fudging, pretentious makeup counter bitch just looked at me funny for my cheap drugstore makeup. It was uncomfortable, so I just walked on eggshells to keep her from exploding. Anyway, results of the blood work and a good doctor. Perimenopause. Her hormones are completely abnormal. None of her doctors would even consider it because she was too young for menopause, so they didn't even bother running the tests. She'll be coming up with a care plan with my doctor for hormone replacement therapy and diet change to hopefully get back on track. She's still a nutcase right now. For example, she called me crying the other night because she will never have more kids. Why? Her husband had a vasectomy years ago. I'm driving to her place next weekend and we're going to batch cook a bunch of meals for her new diet plan. I'll be doing it with her as I could stand to eat healthier. So it'll be a slow process, but we have a diagnosis and plan. I'm just taking her outbursts as crazy hormones right now because it'll take a while to even out. I got her a dark chocolate cake for Easter that said, "Happy Reverse Easter, when the Easter bunny takes back your eggs," because I'm kind of a jerk. She thought it was hilarious though, so we are good. TL/DR. Sister is going through perimenopause, so she's irrationally, but understandably nutty right now. Oh, and Santa Claus still doesn't exist. Edit. Remove the comment about being bipolar. Though my SIL has professionally diagnosed bipolarism and does have wildly swinging moods within minutes sometimes, though usually a manic high or low last weeks, it wasn't my intention to slur a group of people. My sister was acting very much like my SIL can act sometimes, so it was the best reference I could make. I apologize for offending anybody. Relevant comments. Commenter. I got her a dark chocolate cake for Easter that said, "Happy Reverse Easter, when the Easter bunny takes back your eggs," because I'm kind of a jerk. She thought it was hilarious though, so we are good. This is the best thing ever. So glad you figured it out. Good for you for realizing she was totally out of whack and helping her get back on track. Good luck. Opie. Well, like I said, it wasn't abnormal for teenage sister. She was a huge drama queen back then. It was abnormal for 36-year-old sister. I guess she's just sensitive to hormone fluctuations. Story 2. I found out the actual reason my mom lost custody of me, and I don't know if I can ever look at her again. I was removed from my mother's care by Child Protective Services when I was 11 years old due to allegations of SA posed against my stepfather. He was convicted of those crimes, but took a plea deal which meant he'd be out by the time I was 13, and from what I can remember, I don't even know that he served those 2 full years anyway. I was his primary victim. I don't remember how old I was when it started, but the earliest he admitted to was when I was 8. I don't know if my mom knew before CPS got involved or if she found out afterwards, but now I don't think it would have mattered to her if she was aware. After being put into temporary custody of the state while the legal issues were sorted out, eventually I was placed with a relative and her husband, who later adopted me when it was clear my mother wouldn't be getting me back. My adoptive parents put me in therapy, got me the help I needed, did everything they could to make me feel safe again. Something they never prevented me from was speaking to my mother. I was always able to call or text her, and she was always allowed to come visit me, but I could never go and see her. I didn't really question it as a kid. I assumed it was some stipulation the courts made. I believed growing up that the reason my mom hadn't gotten me back was because of neglect, I guess. I assumed that the court thought it was partly her fault that I had been left unattended with that man so often, or that it took someone else noticing I was physically injured for something to be done about it. My adoptive parents never challenged these assumptions I had, and they always told me that they would never stop me from having a relationship with my mom so long as that's what I wanted. Once I turned 18, my mom and I started talking more frequently, but we didn't see each other in person often. I never really thought much of it at first, but as the years went by, I started questioning the circumstances of my removal and subsequent adoption. I was confused as to why a woman with no prior issues with the law would have had her child taken from her in such a cut and dry way. I decided to ask my adoptive parents about it, and they very gently informed me that my mother was told that in order for her to regain custody of me, her husband, my abuser, would be required to leave the home and could not under any circumstances come near me. Not only because he was an offender, but because I was the victim. My mother evidently could not meet these conditions, and so I was adopted by my relatives. When I worked up the courage to ask my mom if it was true, she didn't deny it. She told me she loved him, that he was a good man who made a mistake. They said that she could have her daughter, or she could stay with her husband, and so she chose him. She picked him over me. I don't even know what to do with the things I'm feeling now. I feel sick just thinking about it. She's my mother, and she knew what he did. He was convicted of Sanji, her 11-year-old child, and she refused to leave him. For the past 12 years, she has willingly slept in a bed next to the man that assaulted her daughter. She has stayed married to the man who hurt me. My adoptive parents said they were advised by the therapist to let me figure it out in my own time, as my mother, despite picking that man over me, never made any move to have me near him again. She just wasn't willing to make him leave so that I could be with her. Evidently, the therapist thought it would be more detrimental in the long run to keep me from communicating with my mother entirely. None of that makes me feel better. The past 2 days have felt like a nightmare. I don't understand how she could stay with him. I don't understand why she chose a monster over her child. I'm trying to understand why my adoptive parents didn't tell me, but to be honest, I don't really understand the reasoning either. My mom has been texting me, but I haven't answered. I can't even think about her without feeling nauseous or so angry I want to cry, or both. My adoptive parents keep checking in on me, but I've only answered the phone for them because I don't want them to drive here out of concern. I really don't even know what to do anymore. Edit. I said this in a comment, but I thought I'd clarify here too. I'm not necessarily mad at my parents. I'm just overwhelmed with the reality of this situation. I don't know how I feel, but I know I need time to feel it. I am still in therapy, which is related to the abuse I experienced. So I do have a professional to rely on for guidance if I need it. And I don't think I'll ever be able to speak to my mother again. I can't get past this to forgive her or understand her reasoning, and I'm not sure I will ever want to try. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your adoptive parents consulted with medical professionals on how to deal with this. They took that advice because they didn't want to cause you more harm and because they love you. They were putting you first because you were their priority over their own feelings. How do I know that? Because I had a family member in a similar situation. It ripped them to pieces every time their child had contact with the parent that refused to protect them, knowing that child was being harmed repeatedly. Everything your adoptive parents did, they did out of love for you, no matter how hard it was on them. I will be honest. I don't understand people like your mother. Children should be protected at all costs. At the very least, you need time and distance from her. You may be able to forgive her, but don't trust her. If it were me, that relationship would be over. If you're not in counseling still, then please find counseling. This is a horrendous thing to deal with, and just too hard for a person to do on their own. Sending good thoughts and wishes for your healing. OP, thank you. I really appreciate this perspective. I know they made choices for me based on what they thought would help me most in the end. This is just such an, I don't know, insane thing to try and process. I feel like I'm kind of losing it. I don't understand my mother either. I don't know how she's able to sleep at night knowing the things that man did. I can't wrap my mind around it. I do have a therapy appointment coming up soon, unrelated to this specific part of my situation. So I'm going to have professional help in dealing with this. I'm just feeling really lost and overwhelmed right now. Commenter 2. One of the most disturbing things is that your mom calls her husband's essaying you for years since you were 8 years old a mistake. Her husband made a mistake, and that's a profound level of delusional belief, Beck. It was his decision to essay you for years and only stopped Beck the authorities were involved. SA is not a mistake, is a planned, premeditated decision. OP, I haven't been able to stop thinking about that part. The way she called it a mistake, said that he's a good man. She dismissed it as though he didn't make a conscious choice to go into my bedroom every night for 3+ years, like it was an accident, or somehow unintentional. The good man she's married to is a predator who will be on the registry for the rest of his life for the things he did to me. I assumed my mother would have loved me enough to at least acknowledge the severity of what my stepfather had done. Evidently, I was wrong. Commenter 3. I understand how you feel about your bio mother, although our situations were different in many ways. About your adoptive parents. If it's any consolation, think about how hard it feels to deal with this. Do you think your younger self had the tools to healthfully process this? I understand they might have been afraid of you developing issues while you were still at a critical age. Imagine you understood it was wrong. Kids tend to blame themselves. You might have thought it was something about you that made her choose him. Imagine you didn't understand it was wrong or, worse, normalized it. Is that the idea of love you would like to have nowadays? Would you like to have grown under that weight? Your adoptive parents made a difficult choice in a situation in which you would always lose. It is difficult to know what the best course of action was, but I think they have proven they love you. You are worthy of love, of being chosen regardless of the amount of DNA you share or not share. That's a start. Update. Hello. I guess I wanted to write a little bit of an update. I didn't expect that many people to see the post. Honestly, I just needed to vent, and I didn't want to dump any of that on my friends or family. I had a therapy session earlier in the week, so I was able to bring this revelation up to my therapist, and we're going to work on ways to help me through processing this. That's obviously something that's going to take time, but I'm sure eventually I'll find a way to live with it, I guess. Right now, I still don't know how to unpack any of the feelings I have about this. I do understand why my adoptive parents went about it the way they did. In the moment, being given that information was just a lot to comprehend/deal with, and I felt betrayed. Not necessarily by them, but I think I did put some of those feelings onto them. That wasn't really fair, and I did try to apologize, but they aren't upset with me for it. And they felt I didn't have anything to be sorry for. They know firsthand how difficult this is for me, and they told me they were already expecting the reaction I had. My adoptive mom said that if she had been in my shoes, she would have been upset too, even if that feeling wasn't entirely directed at the right people. I did speak to them about how I felt, and I asked if they could tell me a little more about why they decided to handle it the way they did. They said that when they got custody of me and saw all the ways the trauma from my earlier childhood manifested, they wanted to do everything to make sure I would be able to grow up as cared for and well-adjusted as possible. When the therapist encouraged them not to tell me the truth or challenge my belief that I'd been removed from my mom because of neglect, they followed that advice. The doctors and my parents thought it best for me to realize/understand my mother's choice on my own. They said that I had already been failed by so many adults in my life that were supposed to protect me, and that they didn't want to add to that list. My adoptive dad also mentioned wanting me to be able to enjoy at least part of my childhood without something like that revelation hanging over my head, which, looking back at all of it, I really appreciate. I don't remember much of my childhood up until I was put into my adoptive parents' custody, and what I can remember isn't great, but the childhood they gave me made up for that in spades. I know the choices my adoptive parents made for me were made with my best interest in mind. I love them, and I know everything they did was out of love for me too. I feel like people misinterpreted what I was saying in my last post about my feelings towards them, so I just wanted to clarify that part of it. Regarding my mother, I essentially told her that I wasn't interested in speaking again given everything I know now. I don't know how she took it because I've since blocked her number. My parents have agreed to reiterate that message for me if she contacts them, but I didn't think she will. I'm never reaching out to her again. I can't do it. I think part of me is always going to be wondering why she did the things she did, but based on all the answers she's given to my questions so far, I'm not sure her honesty would be very helpful to me in the long run. Thank you for your words of encouragement and kindness. I really needed them in that moment, and I truly appreciate you all for it. Top comments. Commenter 1. Proud of you. I'm glad everything worked out. Keep your mom out of your life. Commenter 2. Wow, you are strong/your adoptive parents are great people. They did it out of love, and what other experts thought was the right decision. Your bio mom doesn't seem like a good person. Story 3. I ordered meat in front of my vegan friend. I, 28F, have a friend since college, Mia, 27F. She moved to LA in the last year and became a vegan while I live in the Midwest. I'm supportive of her decision to be vegan, but it's overall not for me. So a couple months back, we were FaceTiming and I was eating an omelet. And she made a comment about, how can you eat eggs? Don't you know how mistreated those animals are? I am fortunate enough to own my own home, and as such I have backyard chickens. The eggs I ate literally came from the hens in my backyard. I brushed it off as a joke and said, you do know I have my own chickens, right? What, you think I'm some mobster ordering these hens to lay for me as a protection fee? If they don't meet the quota, I tie them up outside and let the coyotes sniff around to scare them into submission? Mia was less than amused and continued arguing with me. I continued to brush it off. So last week I went out to visit her in LA. We hadn't seen each other in over a year. We ended up going out to a restaurant the day I landed, and I ordered a burger with a gluten-free bun. I'm celiac. Well, Mia started raving about how offensive it was to eat meat in front of her, and what if she was allergic? I told her, but you aren't allergic. My eating this doesn't impact you. Mia left for the bathroom. She came back, and everything seemed normal until the food arrived. I thought the burger looked weird and asked the server about it. Apparently Mia went and changed my order to a vegan patty while she went to the bathroom. And the kicker, the patty contained gluten. So she literally ordered something that would have made me super sick if I ingested it. I told the server this was a mistake, that I was celiac and could not eat the burger. Mia started going off, saying I was being unreasonable and not open to new things, and how dare I eat meat in front of her. I told her, "You're the one being selfish, not respecting my choice, not to mention putting my health at risk. What the hell is the matter with you?" She refused to relent, so I left the restaurant. Mia was blowing up my phone to pay my part of the tab. I used the spare key she gave me, grabbed my suitcase, left the key with her roommate, and hightailed it to a hotel. Now this is the part where I might be an asshole. I went to a restaurant near my hotel, ordered a steak, and posted it on my socials. Well, of course Mia saw it and continued to spam me on every platform imaginable. I ended up blocking her. Some of my friends say that taunting her with the steak was too far. Others agree that Mia was out of line changing my order. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Well, Mia started raving about how offensive it was to eat meat in front of her, and what if she was allergic? Then what's the point of going to a restaurant when everyone around her is eating meat? OP, you bring up a good point. And it may be so there was something to fight about, or to try and persuade those around her into being like her. I didn't really think that deep on it when she picked the restaurant. Commenter 2. And why isn't it a problem when she eats gluten in front of you? I mean, she literally changed your meal to something you can't eat, not a personal choice. OP, my issue with gluten arises from eating it. It's not like I'll go into anaphylaxis from being around it, but the symptoms from eating gluten when you have celiac are nothing to scoff at. I agree what she did was really shitty. She's tried to reach out through mutual friends and say she didn't know how bad my reaction to it was. Face with rolling eyes. Update. Okay, I didn't expect there to be an update on this, but here we go. Recap. My friend, Mia, changed my order at a restaurant from a burger with a GF bun to a vegan patty that contained gluten without my knowledge. I suffer from celiacs. She wanted to teach me a lesson about veganism. We haven't spoken since. On to the update. So before I had mentioned that Mia was reaching out to mutual friends to try and get in touch with me. Specifically our friend Heather, 28F. And while Heather is a very sweet human being, she's a people pleaser and tends to parrot the last person who spoke to her. Heather lives in town while Mia moved to LA. Heather wants to broker peace as she is very uncomfortable with any sort of conflict. I had Heather over today. She wanted to discuss the Mia situation, and I kept reiterating that I had made up my mind and didn't want to hear it. That if I wanted to talk about Mia and what she did, then I would talk to Mia. So Heather said, well, it's not like all her points aren't valid. I mean, look at your chickens. What about my chickens? Background. My dad and I built my backyard chicken coop with an attached run. They also get supervised yard time. There are 3 hens. Well, Heather went on to say, and I'm assuming she was parroting Mia at this point, that it was inhumane and unethical to keep my chickens, especially when I live in the Midwest, and that stealing their eggs robs them of nutrients. And it's not like I'm a professional when it comes to chickens. I looked at her and said, are you a professional cat wrangler? She looked shocked and said, what? Me, you have cats but you're not a professional at it. What do you do when they're sick or acting off? Heather, I take them to the vet. Me, but you're not a professional. Heather, well no, but they're my pets, I wouldn't let something happen to them. Me, exactly. Those chickens are my pets. They live a spoiled life. Heather looked away and said, well, Mia said she was going to report you for animal abuse. I took Heather outside to see the coop. All 3 of my girls ran up. I showed her around and asked her if this looked like abuse. She said no. I showed her the meals that the chickens are fed. I explained how I ensure the girls get their nutrients and how I put together their meals. I looked at her and said, what you talk about with Mia is your business. I would hope that you know me and trust me well enough to see that I don't torture my animals. But if you have doubts, I will show you around. I will not be discussing Mia with you any further. I made the choice to go no contact. That doesn't mean you have to take a side or fix things between us. Heather ended up apologizing and saying how Mia sounded so confident in what she was saying that she believed it without a second thought. I ended up feeling so exhausted and still haunted by the ghost of Mia. I don't know how serious she is about reporting me for animal abuse, but there's nothing abusive going on here. I hope she's just spitting venom hoping that something will get me to unblock her. I can't believe this is the same woman who used to hold my hair in college. And I'm starting to question the level of investment I want with Heather. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, you need to reduce contact with Heather. Look how ready she was to scold you. How ready to take Mia's side without even bothering to ask you what happened. She's a bad friend. OP, this isn't the first time. Heather is very sweet, but easily persuaded. Respectfully, I love her dearly, but if there was ever a friend that would accidentally join a cult, it would be her. I've tried to bolster her confidence over the years to encourage her to think more for herself, but ultimately you may be right. I may need to step back for my own self-preservation. Commenter 2. Opt this. If someone starts messing with your chickens, you know who it is. Time to sue. After failing to poison you, she's coming after your safe supply of protein. OP. She's in LA, so at least she isn't local. I don't want the restaurant to get into trouble if I were to report it. The server was just a young kid, and my fear is they would pass the buck. Story 4. Am I the jerk for telling my brother to stop coming over unannounced and changing the locks? My brother, Chris, 27M fake name, moved in with my BF, 28M, and I, 26F, 7 years ago. We took pity on him after he was kicked out of my childhood home for drug use and was sleeping in his car. At first, Chris and my boyfriend got along great. After a few years of living together, Chris became more reclusive and distant from us both. Chores were not being done around the house, and I was getting sick of cleaning up after him and his negative attitude. 6 months prior to the end of our lease, I told Chris that he had to find another living situation. He did finally move out a few weeks prior to the end of our lease, and I thought we all agreed about splitting up shared appliances and valuables. One thing we did not discuss was our shared robot mopping device. We acquired this one day at my grandmother's house a few years ago. She was moving and offered it to all 3 of us as she would not be using it. So we brought that little robot home. This thing is nothing fancy, just a small device you fill with cleaning solution and attach disposable mop pads. Let me be clear. In the 4 years we have had this thing, Chris has not once paid for any replacement mopping pads. Never had even turned the thing on. It was always BF, or I splitting the cost of pads and setting this thing up to run nightly so we'd all wake up to clean floors downstairs. Chris hasn't returned his key because he's still slowly moving things out. It's been over a month now. He always showed up unannounced to our home to gather boxes and his belongings. Sometimes we wouldn't even realize he was there while we had been out. Last night BF was looking for our little robot friend, as we had just gotten new pads delivered for it. Turns out after going crazy looking for this thing and texting Chris he did take it, claiming, "Yeah, he is mine." This was the last straw. We had been so accommodating to this man for years. I just can't believe Chris had the audacity to take our beloved robotic cleaning friend without a word. I have let Chris know that we are no longer comfortable with him coming by unannounced, and if he needs anything we will look for it ourselves. I also said he can return his key to the office and we will pick it up. His response? "Stop being weird, I don't want any of your trash shit. I already had all my useful grow equipment stolen. Anyway, stop texting me before you make me mad." The grow stuff referred to here as indoor greenhouse and hydroponics, which was verbally agreed for an even split of materials since both Chris and BF acquired the equipment together. BF ordered a camera that will be here tomorrow. I've contacted the leasing office to make them aware of the animosity between us and requested the locks to be changed. I just want to know, am I going too far? This robot is not at all expensive, but it's more about the principle to me. I feel disrespected. We all have to see each other next week for Thanksgiving, and I know it will be awkward. Update posted in comments. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. NTA. Your freeloading brother took the final step over the line. OP. I appreciate your reply. Thanks for taking the time to read. I agree he's a freeloader and an arrogant one at that. Living situation. He's officially moved out more than a month ago now and has his own new residence. Also, we have only been staying at this townhouse for 1 year and a month. We had all moved out together from our previous living situation. The robot. Additional information. We absolutely love this robot. One of my BF and my favorite pastimes was to get stoned and watch this little guy go back and forth cleaning our floors. I almost feel like this was intentionally taken from us to prevent enjoyment and as an intentional inconvenience. Commenter. You took in a drug user. What did you expect? OP. I thought I had almost lost my brother, so that had probably clouded my judgment. It was an unintentional overdose from a laced substance. Was supposed to be just psilocybin. At least that's what I was told. Did he tell you? He told me the story of being kicked out, but it was corroborated by my mom and siblings. It does seem like he didn't realize what the substance actually was, but I guess play stupid games when stupid prizes fits. Commenter. Has he ever taken any responsibility for what got him kicked out, or was it never his fault? What kind of housemate was he? BF was very patient because that's a lot of drama Noon needs. Have you apologized to BF for disrupting his home? OP. The main reason we wanted him to move out was space for BF and I as a couple. We're planning engagements soon and want to move on with our own lives. He was quite weird to live with, especially towards the end. Didn't clean up the mess on the stove or coffee area after himself. I don't think he took out the trash once, and I had to ask. I have apologized to my BF for letting this go on for so long, but I should really put a note or something together for him. Thanks. I see what you actually mean by getting kicked out, and yes, he fully admitted that he was at fault for the drugs. As far as I know, he doesn't do hard drugs, only legal weed and psychedelics. Commenter, your brother's an $dollar hole who seems to have some entitlement and anger management issues. I'd go no contact with him ASAP. OP. We were low contact as it was while living together. We hardly spoke at all and he would walk in and ignore us. No hello or goodbye. Commenter, please tell me you charged him some sort of rent. OP. Oh yes, originally we all stayed in BF's childhood home, and we didn't have rent so he didn't either. But when we all moved on to rented spaces, he did contribute 1/3. What does he want with the robot anyway? He only wants the mop-'em robot now that he has hardwood floors now. But we've always lived in a house where this robot was useful. He just didn't want to contribute to our shared space. He also had the audacity to say his contributions to cleaning the floor was the robot itself. That was given to us and he did not pay for? Robot. For those asking, hey Neice, a link to the specific device. iRobot Braiva mopping robot. OP is voted NTA. Update. I decided to reach out to my brother and ask him nicely to bring our robot friend to Thanksgiving so we can bring him back home. Here's the messages so far. Me. I've gotten some time to think about this and gotten some different perspectives. I don't believe the robot belongs to you. I'd really appreciate if you could bring it with you to Thanksgiving so we can bring it back home. I feel as though we've been very accommodating to you over the years you've lived with us, and taking a shared appliance without any discussion is not only disrespectful but shows your lack of consideration for us. So we'd like our robot back, since really he is ours after years of using and upkeeping without any help from you. Chris, I've gotten some time to think about it, and I want the TV from Grandma's as well, so go ahead and bring it over when you get a chance, thanks. Me. TV was also given to us specifically. I'm not sure why you think that's yours as well. Chris, everything was given to you. Apparently she asked me if I wanted the robot while I was in the kitchen, and I said yes, that's how it went, end of story. I don't give two shits what you think is yours, or not. If I let you borrow something because I'm not using it, it doesn't make it yours. Me, as I remember it, we were all there at the time she offered. And I even tried to decline since it's still useful, but she insisted. It was given to all of us as a shared household. If you thought it was yours, you should have had a discussion with us first before taking it while we were out. Chris, you remember wrong, and I don't need to have a discussion about my own things. Not to mention BF moving shady, taking shit out of the tent while I was gone, thinking I wouldn't notice. LOL, how is that any different? I didn't bring it up because I'm a bigger person and don't really care anymore. I want to put this terrible part of my life behind me. And if you don't leave it be, I'm going to leave you behind as well. Me, you, and BF had a discussion about splitting up the gross stuff, which he thought went amicably. You aren't being very mature, and I don't want someone that can't have a simple conversation about shared items in my life anyways. So I guess that's it. Looks we will not be getting our little friend back. Thank you all for your support and interacting with this post. This was my second post ever, and to see it blow up was a crazy feeling. 2 hours later. Actually, after the convo BF just had with him, we might be seeing our friend again soon. Look out next Thursday for an update. Update post. Hello again. I just wanted to start by saying thank you all for your judgments on my last post. I read every comment and gave each perspective some thought. Ultimately, you guys helped me gain the confidence to stand up for myself and ask for our robot back. I included my text conversation with my brother Chris in the comments of my last post. To summarize, I asked as politely as I could for our mopping robot back, as well as stated the reasonings why it belonged to us. Chris refused to see reason and pretty much said he would be cutting me out of his life if I kept bringing this up. My wonderful BF couldn't sit back and let him be disrespectful to us anymore. He had his own conversation with Chris, which for privacy reasons cannot be shared. BF ended up taking some of your guys' advice and threatened to reveal specific information to our family if our robot was not returned on Thanksgiving. This was last Thursday, so he had 1 week to make a decision. After a quiet week, I was preparing myself to drop a bomb on family dinner. But then, I went out to start warming up my car Wednesday night, and there was a box on my front step. I didn't order anything, and as I picked up the box, noticed it wasn't sealed. Guys, our robot friend found his way home. I guess Chris decided that a mopping robot was not worth ruining his reputation with our family. He will not be bothering us anymore, and we will be low/no contact from now on. Now a positive from all this drama. BF and I are utilizing our new home monitoring cameras to watch our pets. Our dogs and cats' activities while home alone are so entertaining, it's brought us a lot of joy to check in on them. Family photo will be posted in comments of pets and robot. Have a great holiday season, everyone.